Hello, my beautiful Taurus clan. Welcome to March 2020. Okay, this month is big. This month is big, and I like it because where the last few months we've been doing a lot of this eclipse work, a lot of this looking back, looking underneath the surface, doing that deep work, March has a totally different flavor. We are moving into some really new territory, some really new logic that we haven't been using or tapped into for the last few years. And there's a big reason for that. The big news this month is that Saturn is moving into Aquarius. And we're only getting the beginning tastes of that transit because it will be going back to Capricorn a couple months later as Saturn retrogrades. But we are getting our first taste of this big change in energy. And of course, for you, Saturn moving into Aquarius means it's activating who you are in this world. Boom. It's huge. It's not happening until March 22nd. So we have some other things happening the first 3 weeks of the month that we should talk about here. Venus is moving into your sign at the beginning of the month on the 5th, and I really love that for you to have Venus come home with you during this time of transition and change. This is actually Taurus. Venus is doing a retrograde this summer in Gemini. Not touching Taurus at all, but Taurus, you're the last sign that Venus gets to move through in this really gentle, loving way before she starts her conversation with her retrograde pre-shadow and all of that. And so this is a really nurturing, great time, Venus in Taurus. And the way that came through for me is that you're, taking care of your body and listening to your body and listening to the signals it is giving you this month is going to be a really great tool set for you. It's going to be a really fantastic way for you to get information about that visionary 10th house, who am I in this world thing. It's going to help you micro adjust through the different information that's coming through. And I think micro adjusting is really important in March because these are huge influxes of energy. They are huge shifts in the way that we have been doing things. And so it's a lot, right? I mean, not only that, but Mercury's finishing up his retrograde in Aquarius, finishing that up on the 10th, stationing direct, and then the rest of the month doing its post-shadow work, going through Aquarius and back through Pisces. And then we have our full moon in Virgo in your 5th house of your heart chakra. That's going to be extremely amplifying for you. You're going to see a lot during that full moon on the 9th. We have the equinox with the sun moving from Pisces into Aries. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And then Mars enters Aquarius as well near the end of the month. And Mars and then Saturn conjunct in Aquarius at the beginning of the month. So this is a big month. There's a lot getting revved up here, as you can see. And like I said, there's a lot of energy with all these shifts going on where it's like you get hints of what's coming up over the next 3 years because Saturn's going to be in Aquarius. I mean, like I said, he's going back to Capricorn for a little while, but the Saturn in Aquarius energy goes until 2023. So you can kind of think about, we obviously have our long transit of Uranus in your sign, and that's going until 2026, and we have Chiron in Aries until 2027, I believe. This one's kind of like the first half of this. So Saturn in Aquarius is really important, and it helps. It's a little more easily visualized than those really long range transits. The other thing I want to say about that is Uranus is in your sign. Has been a revolutionary time for you. Has been a huge shifting time for you. Saturn moving into the early degrees of Aquarius is also going to be catalytic with that Uranus in your sign. So you're going to be noticing there's an activation going on there that's quite personal for you because it's going to be activating aspects of that Uranus transit through your sign. And once again, the micro adjustments via listening to your body, hearing it out, if you can focus on getting that rest, not numbing out, finding ways to commune with your body, I really highly recommend that. You don't need to put a lot of pressure on yourself this month. That's the other thing I want to say as I start to shuffle here. It's 8 of Cups. So powerful. It's not, just because all this stuff is shifting, we're opening up the gateways to some really big new energy. And you have this catalytic thing going on with Saturn and Uranus. King of Cups. I love it for Taurus. Oh, yeah. It doesn't mean that you've got to have it all figured out. Oh, well, you need to know what you're going to be doing by the time 2023 hits 3 years from now. Oh my gosh, please no. I'm not interested in suggesting that whatsoever. I think the Tower, oh my gosh, this card, in February it was huge. It's still here in March. You're not alone, and there's a reason for that, and it has a lot to do with this clearing, this shift into this Saturn Aquarius energy. It's just big. Also, this is the other thing. March is always kind of an epic month in a way because we're shifting from the last sign of Pisces, which is all about ascension. It's very tied to like Jesus and death and sacrifice and these really deep, kind of profound, watery visions into Aries, which is like the newborn baby. Also, good to mention here that Aries for you is your 12th house. So for Taurus, Aries season is it's not as easy as it's springtime and it's a new season and la la la. It's a lot more like, ooh, I'm feeling this culminating energy coming on. So for you, it's a little bit different too, right? But this Tower energy is very much this. And we're going to get into it once I'm done shuffling through here, obviously. Hanged Man. Love it. Love it. This is just a time. 7 of Wands. Also love it. I'm actually really loving this energy for you. It's complex. There's a lot going on here. Ooh, 2 cards came out. Queen of Pentacles, 9 of Swords. All right, let's wait for one more beautiful card here. Page of Cups. Yeah, there's a lot going on. As you can see, there's quite the potpourri of cards that we have in this conversation. There is this thing going on, though. You know how during the eclipse season, like end of 2019, beginning of this year, there's been a lot of talk about going to our places of fear and our shadow side and our pain side and like sitting with that stuff and really looking at it and releasing judgment around it. And not believing the haunted house of thoughts and letting them go. I think this month is kind of it's kind of like, okay, we've done that. Now is not the time to keep doing it. It's not always the time to constantly be digging through our dungeons. Yes, it's important to do. It's important to check on that stuff from time to time. It's important to give it a moment. It's nice to regularly clean out any cobwebs. However, there are also important times where it's like, okay, we've done that for a little while. Now we need to shift into something else. And that's what I'm seeing here, because if you look at the first 3 cards, they're interesting. 8 of Cups, King of Cups, the Tower. The 8 of Cups and the Tower both herald leaving behind something that is not serving. One, on that emotional front, something that you could even write down on paper and say, this is working for me. I remember I had this really wonderful job where I did collection management for this really beautiful library. It was a great resource for the community. I loved my coworkers. The hours were great. I got to play with books all day. It was amazing, right? It gave me so many resources, so much stability, helped me through a really hard time in my personal life where I had that stability. And I really was ready to grow and move beyond it. And I would write out, why I couldn't leave this job, because it was like I could write so many beautiful things about how good it was for me. And I had to go, right? So it's like, it doesn't always have to be these like super toxic things that you're leaving behind, which is sometimes the bittersweetness. It could be something that doesn't feel good to you and you're like, yes, let's go. But 8 of Cups has that nuance where it's like, you understand you've got to go on the journey and you've got to go find out. No matter what you're leaving behind, it can be good or it can be stressful, what have you, but there's an adventurous energy to 8 of Cups where there is no staying. Now, for me, this journey takes you to the King of Cups, which is a very stable, masculine emotional energy. I think about this as that idea of like divine masculine energy being able to be a container for all emotion. And so there's a stability here in feeling fully. This beacon, this figure is even going toward the King of Cups. This is where you're headed. Now that requires burning away any debris, anything that's been holding you. The Tower, yes, it can be about surprise. It can be about cataclysm. Obviously, this is a very vivid depiction of like disaster. But the thing is with this card, every time I look at it, every time I feel through this energy, these are about monopolies being stricken down, things that have monopolized your energy, monopolized your identity, monopolized who you want to be in the world, prisons, cages, turrets, things that have kept you held to something that's not working for you anymore, gone. And that is something that comes, I think, with this huge energy shift with the equinox, with Saturn moving into a completely new sign after years of working through Capricorn. Years of this other energy, we're shifting into something else. It's like whatever we were doing in those other years was important. It was good. We were doing the work. We were finding out what happens when we check in with certain points of pain, what have you. But this Tower is like, not now. Like, we're doing something else now. So we've got to sit, we got to feel through our body, and we got to let it go. And so what I would say with these first three cards, and even with the fourth card of the Hanged Man, that note that came through for Taurus, which is to feel your body. Use your body to do the micro shifts. Use your body to get the information about those changes you want to make, those shifts you want to make in your routine, how you use your energy. The Hanged Man is speaking directly to that. Directly to how these first three cards, you can understand them and work with them via the Hanged Man. This is what I will say. You all have a really strong work ethic, which I love. Being around Tauruses, your consistency is so valuable and wonderful to have in this world, right? Like, it's so good. But sometimes you feel the pressure to add more and more and more and always be like doing that extra bit that nobody even really notices. They don't appreciate it necessarily. The Hanged Man is telling me, don't worry about trying to do it all this month. Like, just don't. It doesn't have greater value just because it feels like you're doing more. Right? We kind of get trained into the more you can kind of look at yourself and say, I've checked off all these things on my to-do list, the better I feel. It's not always true. And the Hanged Man is saying to slow down, listen, and feel the feelings. Feel the feelings. Give yourself enough space to do that. Also, I think this visionary energy, it's really cool and it's very exciting and it's nice. It's refreshing after doing all the dungeon digging to have the visionary energy. I do think it's a little scary at times though too. It can be a little overwhelming. It can be a little bit like, I'm going to short circuit. And it's important when we're tapping into a completely new logic, a completely new way of seeing and doing. And as we come out of the Mercury retrograde and we're getting to kind of that clearer and clearer insight, it's important to be gentle with yourself in that process. Now, here's what's interesting, you all. You have this really competitive card here of the Seven of Wands. But this is what's interesting. These things always have, their own shape and character for each reading. For me, the Seven of Wands is holding your ground. It's holding your ground. It's holding yourself accountable to yourself and not to other people. So this is about, not just capitulating to everybody's requests of you, not just capitulating to what you think other people expect of you, want from you, desire from you, and you really holding your own. Now that's also tied to the Queen of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles, self-value queen. Venus is with you, my friends, and she's here to help you feel that sense of, I don't need to just do something because you asked. I don't have to, I don't have to do any of these things. I can just choose to listen to my body, listen to it telling me, I'm feeling resistance to picking up that phone call. I'm feeling resistance to taking on that extra work duty just because somebody else asked me to do it. That doesn't feel true for me to say yes to that. That's the kind of sovereignty that I'm seeing here with these cards. And it's really important for you to do that because it's part of the revolution. Just think about cumulatively when you do those little shifts where you're honoring yourself, you're honoring what you really feel, what you really believe, how over the course of a few months, your life can look really different. Because you're going to have people around you who actually value you for who you are, and not just from what they can get from you or how they feel that they can get something from the situation. It's going to revolutionize your routines, your habits. It's going to change all of those things just by listening in. Now, here's the funny thing. I feel like 9 of Swords is like guilt. It's guilt around setting those healthy boundaries with yourself. It's guilt around this kind of letting yourself go and explore and be open to being somewhere new, somewhere different, and doing it differently. Now, because this month, because it's so big, it's so electric, it's very powerful, I do feel it's important to feel all your feelings, including the feelings that have to do with old guilt, old pain, old patterning. As we give ourselves permission to live via who we are in this moment now, we really profoundly give ourselves that permission. This is when we see what comes from guilt, what comes from shame, what choices we make via those old patterns. We can see them really clearly. And we get to choose. So it's a really important moment. And I think you're going to be noticing those coming up throughout the month. Now, here's the thing. There's a beacon throughout this reading that's really important to get across in our conversation and to connect in here with you, which is you got this King of Cups and you have the Page of Cups at the end. These two energies, what do they have in common? They have this full cup. They have something to offer, right? They have an offering, a very clear, emotive, soft, healing offering. Now, on the one hand, that has to do with you having an offering to give to life, right? We're activating your 10th house of what you have to contribute to the world, and you really hearing that and letting yourself hear it. It's also tied to the people you have around you, the quality of life you have around you. This is an offering of unconditional love. This is an offering of emotional stability and openness and vulnerability. This is an offering of that emotional consistency. And really, when I look at this adventure energy, that 8 of Cups energy of having to go and find out what's over that hill, and the Tower of watching as an old facade crumbles away, and as I see those cards of sovereignty with the 7 of Wands and the Queen of Pentacles, what I'm seeing is that this is really important for you to pay attention to. You are meant to be in scenarios and dynamics that have that emotional sovereignty, that emotional ability to be consistent and loving, and that is the only thing that is allowed to come with you on this journey. It's very clear to me as I'm seeing that. That's what's going on. So that's going to be a big part of the insights and the evolution of your connection to yourself this month. I have some affirmations for you as you do shift into Aries season and as you do shift into this new kind of energetic time the last couple weeks of the month. Yes, you're going to be going even deeper, and yet you're also going to be feeling lighter and freer. So here are your affirmations for March. I listen to my body and allow it to give me information and guidance as each day unfolds. I trust myself and my value to always guide me. I allow myself to dream the big dreams and lean into them softly and gently. I open my heart to surprising new pathways. I think it is a visionary month. It is big. It is open. And I think that idea of leaning softly into the dream is really important. Rather than feeling you got to elbow your way in there, you can lean in softly. I hope you have a beautiful March. If you want more information, I will be doing an Aquarius or a Saturn in Aquarius conversation, activation, workshop over on my Patreon in a few weeks. You can also find my weekly astrology write-ups and discussions there, and a lot of other tools and resources for working with the energy that we have with us in each given week and month. I would love to see you over there. We have so much fun. You can also find me on Instagram at SarahVerba, and I do one-on-one sessions. My calendar is rolling open, so as I know my schedule and where I'm going to be and what my travel schedule is, it helps me to construct a schedule that really works for me and sustainable. So keep an eye on my calendar if you want to work one-on-one with me. I would love to do that. I'm sure we can do some Taurus birthday readings. You just might have to wait until late March for the April readings to start coming out and the May readings to start coming out. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, PinkLune, my favorite Taurus in the world. I'm wearing her gorgeous brass rings and this amazing crescent moon with the quartz on it. It's so beautiful. If you want to get your hands on some of her amazing, beautiful art, you can go check out her Etsy shop. I will leave the link below. I will see you all in April for the shift into Taurus season. Take such good care of yourselves, and I will talk to you very soon.